Nice to meet you, Vladimir, and welcome to the conference. To begin with, you are a one-of-a-kind representative here especially with the research sector in Serbia. This because your institute, BioSense Institute, and correct me if I'm wrong, has a yearly budget around 5 million euros, all of them received through funding opportunities for R&D projects. So, to start off with, how did you come up with the idea to start the BioSense Institute?
Well, it goes back to 2004, 2005 when I got the first project for US industry and got myself involved deeply into artificial intelligence or machine learning, which was really pioneering work at that time in massive use of AI. In 1 or 2 years, I got serious know-how, and then I looked around myself and said, okay, what to do with that? Living in Novi Sad, agriculture was promising thing. Of course, that looked like a weird idea in 2006. Let me remind you that iPhone was introduced in 2007 and drone, as we know it, in 2012, coming out in 2006 with the idea to use mobile phones and drones and things like that in agriculture was really weird. But the future is on the side of those who see the idea before it becomes obvious. So that was the start.
And going a bit further on your work, what is the main focus of the work of the Institute, and how do you use AI and AI developed tools?
Yep, so Institute is constituted of 3 research centers. One is Center for Biosystems. Those are people who are interested in biophenomena, agriculture, environment, medicine, and they are experts on that. On the other side, there is Center for Information Technology, to which I belong, and that's basically AI center. And then in the middle, there is a Center for Sensing Technology. Those guys are developing sensors with nanotechnology and other things that are transforming the data phenomenon for biosystems into data. So basically any cross section between bio and IT is in our focus. So definitely big chunk of our work is devoted to AI.
Going a bit to some of the use cases, for instance, how important is it to use AI in agriculture? And could you give us some examples of and explain to us the concept of sustainable agriculture?
Well, the critical thing for the next 10 to 20 years in agriculture is to really support and boost the introduction of AI into it. It's inevitable. It's just a question of how to do it and how quickly we can do it. So, for example, the yield of the product is not the only commodity that farmer has. The data about his production is new commodity. So he can sell along the corn also the data about detailed use of pesticides, herbicides, which seed variety, what was the yield, how it was distributed per square meter, and then compared with satellite images or other sources of data, it really becomes new value on the market that they can make a trade with. So definitely the AI introduction in agriculture and its sustainability in a way to maximize the yield, minimize the risk of production, and to make it more environment friendly with less use of pesticides and smaller carbon footprint. That's where we rely on AI, because what I usually tell in my talks, that first agricultural revolution was 100 years ago when machines were introduced and replaced the horse. The second big revolution was 50 years ago when the chemistry was there to really boost it and to make it possible to feed 8 billion people nowadays. We started from 1 billion 100 years ago. But now chemistry cannot support anything. You have resistance to chemistry, you don't have big improvements now, and the next big revolution is AI.
Going back a bit now to the research sector, how hard can it be to keep good researchers to stay and work at the institute rather than switching over and going to the private sector?
It's very difficult, especially in this AI domain. There is a huge competition, and in a way, people, programmers, developers, they are acting like prima donnas. They know their value and they can choose this and that. So it's really difficult. Of course, the primary component is money. They should be satisfied with their salary. That's why we have to be aggressive with project development to find the funding to support it. But then the atmosphere and the domain in which we work are one of benefits that we have to offer to people to work with us. For example, one thing is to sit behind the computer and to work for some outsourcing company and program something that you are not too emotional about it. And the second thing is to really develop something that is your child. You see how it grows and then you see it applied. So this is something that I'm getting, for example, every day, a phone call from one or two people. Hey, we managed this, it's working. So they are very happy about, enthusiastic what they do, and this is a big plus for them.
And with this also, how do you manage to stay sustainable in terms of talent acquisition?
Well, we are relying primarily, I'm a professor at computer science at the University of Novi Sad, and my other associates are also connected in various ways to the teaching process. So this is our main resource where to really get the access to talented young people. The other things are that we become visible enough that experienced IT experts become interested to work on something that is in our domain. And then the third is to look elsewhere. Currently we have in our institute people from Spain, from Russia, from France, from India, Brazil. So different people working in Novi Sad.
Now, you mentioned here that you were a professor, and speaking of that, how do you see the collaboration between academia and research with industry and the private sector?
I see that we are in Serbia. We are in the Stone Age with this. It's really difficult because during 90s, industry was devastated completely. During 70s and 80s, academia had a huge income from working with industry for military and other things. All of that is basically destroyed during 90s. It vanished, and our industry reduced to mostly trade. And without the awareness to invest into research that they may get some benefits. These things with IT companies that are outsourcing, it's not sustainable in the long run. I'm a deep believer in the fact that programming will be automated in the next 10 years. So we will not have that need for programmers anymore. But things are now changing. We have cooperation with the industry here, and they are aware more and more with the possibility to go for research, but also not to blame the industry only. I think that the even bigger responsibility is on the other side, on the academia, where we have people that are not brave enough, or they don't have a need to go and work something real. So you have like 90% of the people teaching students something that doesn't have anything related to real thing, to reality, what is really used in the industry. So we have this huge gap that we have to cross in the next few years to really make it make it stimulating for people in academia to reach out and go for the industry. Currently, for example, at the University of Novi Sad, there is no technology transfer office. So if someone from the industry would like to come and say, okay, I want expert to solve me this problem, they don't know where to go. At the University of Belgrade, there is such thing, but to my best knowledge, no one is using that. So it's really a lot to work on, and I think that both government, industry, and others should really stimulate this crossing the gap.
Thank you for that. And in your opinion, how could you boost this collaboration between the two?
I think that it's first of all legal framework. Currently, you have the situation where universities can have income on much easier things than to work for the industry. I'll give you just one example, that you have students that their scholarship is paid by the government, but you have the others who are paying for their studies. University or faculties are treating this as their own income, which is like they were the same thing as the income that they would get from the industry. So why would they go and develop something and have a whole hassle about something that is not 100% reliable, and when they can have easy money on getting students and tell them some lectures that are totally unrelated to the real world, to the industry. And this is once the government imposes the rule to say, okay, the only income that you can get extra is from the work with the industry, then you will have this. Otherwise, it will never happen.
And now with the conference, what do you think, in your opinion, could academia and institute get from events like this?
Well, what is really good, and you can see that in the United States, and that is why probably their R&D has the quickest transfer in the industry, is that on the conferences there are both sides. It's not purely scientific, but you are bringing them into one spot where they can really make contacts and see what they can do for each other. And I think that is the future, to make a match market where how they can get together and really realize that, for example, there are some things that are developed at the universities that this industry doesn't know about, but then on the other hand, there is no motivation for researchers to make an outreach towards the industry. So conferences are a good tool.
And lastly, what would be your message for our current and future partners in academia?
Well, to be brave, to go out and as Steve Jobs would say, stay foolish. You go out and give your ideas and imagination, try to make something out of it, not to keep it just behind the doors of the university. My name is Vladimir Crnojevic. I'm Director of BioSense Institute for Information Technology and Biosystems, and professor at University of Novi Sad.